So, how does a company famous for, those old school thermoses suddenly become a major player in high-tech kitchen gear? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're going to unpack Zojirushi's amazing 2025 growth, their profits, their secret weapon tech, and what they're planning next. Let's jump right in. Hey there. I'm an analyst with HDIN Research. My team and I have been poring over Zojirushi's latest numbers, and honestly, what we found is pretty fascinating. So today, I'm really excited to walk you through our analysis. It really all comes down to this one big question. How does a brand you probably associate with those super reliable vacuum flasks, maybe your parents had one, suddenly become a leader in really advanced kitchen solutions? It's an incredible story of transformation, a real blend of old school quality and brand new tech.
All right, first things first, let's piece together this profit puzzle.
Okay, get ready for this. The big headline number for Zojirushi's 2025 fiscal year is a whopping 24.9% increase in operating profit. I mean, just let that sink in. That's a massive jump year over year. And believe me, numbers like that make everyone sit up and take notice. But here's what makes that number even more impressive. This didn't happen in some perfect, easy market. No way. Zojirushi was actually dealing with some serious headwinds. We're talking a weak yen, which drove up the cost of all their raw materials. So that really leads to the million-dollar question, right? How on earth did they pull that off? How did they manage to not just get by, but actually thrive in those conditions? Well, it turns out there was a secret sauce, a really smart and specific strategy at play here.
And that brings us right to their recipe for success.
So at the very heart of their strategy is this incredible piece of tech called Enbu Daki. Now, that roughly translates to dancing flame cooking, and it is so cool. This is not your average everyday rice cooker. We're talking about a premium, high-end system that's engineered to mimic the intense, swirling heat of a traditional open flame stove. The kind that chefs say is the absolute secret to perfect rice. So you're probably wondering, how does this dancing flame thing actually work? Well, let's break it down. First, you've got a super powerful induction heating coil, the IH part, that generates a ton of heat. But then, and this is the magic part, multiple other heaters start kicking on and off in a specific pattern. This creates this wild convection current inside the pot that literally makes the rice grains dance around. And the result? You get that perfectly fluffy, amazing rice where every grain is distinct. It's just a fantastic example of their focus on getting the core technology absolutely right.
And okay, here's the key business takeaway. When you have premium tech like that, you can command a premium price. This super advanced, high-value technology gave Zojirushi the power to do something a lot of other companies were really struggling with. They could raise their prices. They were able to pass on those higher material costs because people were more than willing to pay extra for a genuinely better cooking experience. And bam, that goes straight to their profit margins. But it wasn't just about amazing products. Their strategy was also about being really smart with their global game plan, which takes us to a world of kitchens.
So if you look at their sales breakdown, Japan is still the mothership, right? It's their home base, making up about 2/3 of their sales. And get this, it's still growing at a really impressive 10.1%. But it's the overseas market where things get really interesting. Okay, so when we zoom in on those overseas numbers, you see a really fascinating story unfold. On one hand, sales in China took a pretty big hit, which isn't too surprising given some of the economic headwinds there. However, and this is the brilliant part, they completely offset that dip with major growth in Taiwan and North America. It turns out their premium gadgets, especially those rice cookers, are becoming a huge hit in those markets. What this really shows is just a super savvy global balancing act. Think about it. Instead of putting all their eggs in one basket, they've built up these different growth engines in different parts of the world. It's a textbook hedging strategy, really. A masterclass in managing risk, and it worked perfectly to protect them from that slowdown in one region. So, after a year like that, you gotta ask, what's next? Well, let's look at Zojirushi's next chapter. And trust me, these guys are not slowing down. They're not just resting on their laurels. They have already rolled out their next big 3-year plan. It's called Beyond, and it's basically their roadmap for where they're headed next. And when you look at the goals in this Beyond plan, wow, they are ambitious. We're talking a target of 100 billion yen in net sales and 9 billion yen in operating profit by 2028.
That tells you they are absolutely serious about keeping this momentum going full steam ahead.
So let's boil it all down. What's the big takeaway here, especially if you're an investor? For us, it comes down to three key things. First, they are absolutely relentless when it comes to high-value tech-focused products. Second, they have a really smart, diversified global strategy that's all about balancing risk and grabbing growth where they can. And finally, they've laid out a super clear, ambitious vision for the future, complete with hard numbers to back it up. And that leaves us with one big final question. Zojirushi has totally proven they can innovate, they can execute, and they can do it with incredible precision. But, the market is always changing. So the real test, the big cliffhanger, is this. Can that powerful mix of tradition and technology really cook up what is by far their most ambitious goal yet?